In 1932, a country with a fully equipped modern military lost a war. Not to another nation, not to rebels or bandits or a rival empire, to birds. This is the true story of the Great Emu War, an actual military campaign with actual soldiers, actual machine guns, and an actual official government report on why it failed. To understand how this happened, you have to go back to the end of World War I. Thousands of Australian veterans came home from the war and were given plots of land in Western Australia to start farming, part of a government resettlement program. The catch, a lot of this land was marginal at best. Difficult soil, unreliable rain, not exactly prime real estate. Then the Great Depression hit. Wheat prices collapsed. The government had promised subsidies to help these farmers, and mostly didn't deliver. And in 1932, a serious drought pushed an estimated 20,000 emus out of their usual inland range and straight into the wheat belt, right where all that wheat was. Emus aren't small. They stand up to 6 feet tall, and they don't just eat crops, they trample them. They also tore through fences on their way in, which let in rabbits, which caused even more damage. For farmers who were already barely hanging on, this was the last straw. So a group of them, veterans themselves, did what made sense to people who'd fought in the First World War. They asked for machine guns. Specifically, they sent a delegation to Australia's Minister of Defence, Sir George Pearce, himself a WWI veteran. Their logic? They'd seen firsthand what sustained machine gun fire could do. Why not use it here? And remarkably, the government said yes. Pearce agreed to lend 2 Lewis guns and soldiers to operate them on a few conditions. The Western Australian government would pay for transport, and local farmers would cover food, lodging, and ammunition costs. Some historians think there was more to it than pest control. This was the Depression, and being seen to help struggling farmers mattered politically. There was even talk that it doubled as good target practice for the troops. A cinematographer from Fox Movietone was brought along too, because if this went well, it would make for great newsreel footage. It did not go well. Leading the operation was Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, along with Sergeant McMurray and Gunner O'Halloran. 2 Lewis guns, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, against birds. The first encounter didn't go as planned. The emus were too far out for the guns to be effective, so local farmers tried to herd them into range. The moment shooting started, the birds scattered into small groups and ran, which made them incredibly hard to hit. Only a handful were killed that day. 2 days later, they tried an ambush at a dam. Over 1,000 emus were spotted heading straight toward the soldiers' position. This should have been the turning point. One of the Lewis guns jammed after only a few rounds. By the time it was cleared, the flock was gone. After 3 days of this, only around 30 emus had been killed. Word of the operation had reached the press, and the press loved it. By November 8th, the whole thing had become an international embarrassment. Sir George Pearce ordered the troops withdrawn. Phase 1 of the Emu War was over, and the emus had won it. But the emus, understandably, hadn't gotten the memo that the war was supposed to be over. Crop damage kept mounting. Farmers pushed for the military to come back. On November 13th, Meredith and his men returned for round 2. This phase went somewhat better. The soldiers were killing around 100 emus a week by early December. But Meredith himself, in his official report, was strikingly honest about how hard this had been. He wrote that emus could withstand serious damage and famously compared them to tanks. If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. When the operation wrapped on December 10th, Meredith's official tally was 986 confirmed kills, using nearly 10,000 rounds of ammunition. That's roughly 10 bullets fired for every single bird confirmed dead. Some contemporary estimates put the real number higher, maybe as many as 2,500, since not every hit could be officially confirmed in the field. Either way, against a population estimated at 20,000, it barely moved the needle. Farmers actually asked for the military to come back again in 1934, 1943, and 1948. Every time the government said no. Instead, they leaned into something far less dramatic, a bounty system paying farmers directly for each emu they killed themselves. It worked. In just 6 months in 1934, over 57,000 bounties were claimed, dwarfing everything the machine guns had managed in 6 weeks. Long-term, the real fix wasn't firepower at all. It was fencing, built to keep emus and rabbits out of farmland in the first place. Not glamorous, considerably more effective. Today, emus are a protected species, and their population is estimated at 600 to 700,000 across the country. They didn't just survive the Great Emu War, they're doing better than ever. So, did Australia really lose a war to birds? Not officially. There was never a formal declaration of war, and calling it that has always been more journalism and internet humor than history. But strip away the joke, and what's left is still true. A modern military with machine guns was sent to solve a problem that birds solved right back at them, just by being fast, hard to hit, and better adapted to that land than anyone expected. Sometimes the simplest tool wins, and sometimes that tool is a fence.